Dissecting all of this, let's bring in our political panel now. Maura Gillespie, founder of Bluestack Strategies, and Alvin Jordan, vice president at Rock Solutions. Alvin, let's start with you, and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. Do the polls matter when you look back at some of this historically? Are we reading too much into them?
I think so, and I think we saw a bit of this just even in the last primary this time last year, where there was the red wave that was impending and going to sweep the nation, and we quickly saw that exactly wasn't the case. And so I think similar to List, we love List in America, and so I think polling kind of falls into that. I was just talking outside about just how the excitement around this debate is already ratcheted up, and I think the List and the polling kind of go into that. We have to pay attention to it, but I don't think that we could give it too much credence given what we've seen.
Well, I also wonder to what extent, Maura, does history actually become a reliable guide here? We're living in a different world politically, I think we can all agree, than any of the contests that Anne-Marie and I just mentioned. We're coming out of COVID. We've got a strange and sort of rare scenario with a former president acting like an incumbent and an 81-year-old incumbent in Joe Biden running for re-election here in what many thought was a caretaker presidency. So can we actually compare this cycle to anything else?
I know people are sick of hearing the words unprecedented and things like that, but it really does feel like this is something we can't just look at polls or use tactics we used in previous elections to try and sort it out. We really do have to watch these debates and listen to folks on the ground because, there was a poll out recently, and Chris Sununu posted about it on his op-ed this weekend in the New York Times, saying that half of the primary voters, the GOP primary voters in New Hampshire, are looking for someone other than Trump. And that goes against what you're hearing typically in the media, but also in other polls. So I really do think that you need to be listening to voters. And again, this debate tomorrow night is so important because that's who it's for. It's for the voters to listen to these candidates and to figure out who they want to support.
Maura, you're a Republican strategist. Do you think we'll get a better debate focused on policy if the former president isn't there? Or do you think that it would be better if he did show up, given the fact that he is a candidate?
Oh, I think he should show up. But I do think that it's going to set him up. If should he be the candidate, he will be contradicting himself, which he already is, because he said how important it is to show up in these things. And now he's not, because he has assumed that he is the candidate. And what that says to me is that he's not even trying to earn the vote, earn it from the voters. He just thinks that it's given to him. And to me, that goes against exactly what the MAGA's, playbook has been, is trying to drain the swamp from these elite, leaders or these entitled leaders, and I really think that what Trump is doing, well, again, it's not surprising that he would go and do this one-on-one with Tucker Carlson. It does give an opportunity to the candidates on stage, the 8 who will make the stage tomorrow night, to introduce themselves to the American people and explain why they should be the candidate that primary voters back.
Alvin, what do you make of the stagecraft that we're hearing from Donald Trump here? He's not attending the debate. We've settled that, but he is going to court the next day, if not early, at some point on Thursday, we understand, to blunt any potential bounce that a candidate gets out of that debate. And then on Friday, we'll all be obsessing over whoever else surrendered in that period of time. Is this effective political stagecraft?
I mean, it depends on who you ask, right? From my opinion, from my vantage, I really believe that you have to allow what Trump is going to do to play out on its own. Mm-hmm. And I think the focus has to be on stage very much, what do you, as an individual candidate, what do you want to say to the American people, and how do you want to create a separate lane that is uniquely yours, that speaks to a difference and a change in regime and era and approach. And I think, those candidates that give airtime to what Trump will be doing on Thursday, I think we'll be making an egregious error in the sense that... Is
it a good move by him, though, to try to shut down the rest of the field?
For him, he will always do what is the most box office and the most, the most soundbite, the thing that will have people talking at the water cooler. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we're talking about a large contingent of people that are ready to elect a new leader relative to the GOP. And so from a Trump standpoint, I think absolutely he's playing his playbook the best way he can. I'm ahead. Let's drum up some news coverage. Let's meet with Tucker Carlson at the same time.
Right.
And let's try to steal it where we can. And I think, for him, that's great. For the rest of the field, I wouldn't give too much airtime to the former president, considering he's not there.
If you're leading so much in the polls, you have to think, why bother showing up? Because potentially there's no upside to that. There's another individual that's not going to be on the debate stage who told us he would, and this is Francis Suarez, the Miami mayor. Here's a statement he said on Twitter, which is a bit wishy-washy. Quote, I suspect the rules and process set forth by the RNC, and I look forward to working with my party to ensure we win back the White House and restore the path to a brighter future for our country. Maura, he said he would drop out if he didn't make it, but this doesn't seem like he's dropping out. Wasn't this part of the issue in leading up to the 2016 presidential election? Trump ended up winning the plurality, and no one dropped out to coalesce around someone else.
And we will need to see that. I think by the fall, we will need to have some people drop out. And, listen, I like Will Hurd, and I was disappointed that he didn't make it onto the stage. But, we will have to have a kind of a reckoning within the GOP, and the RNC will need to really think about, okay, how do we consolidate this field? But I will also point out, that what Trump is doing is actively going against the GOP. He's refusing to sign the pledge to support the eventual candidate, the eventual nominee. He's refusing to do these debates. So I think, another tactic, or, another lane that people should be looking at is he really in it for himself, which he is, but as a party, is that who we want as our leader? And I would say the answer is no, unequivocally no.
This is Balance of Power on Bloomberg TV. The Republican candidates are not the only ones preparing for the big debate tomorrow night. Of course, the Democrats are too. The DNC and President Biden's reelection campaign have plans, and we want to talk to our panel about it as we reassemble our panel with Maura Gillespie, founder of Bluestack Strategies, and Alvin Jordan is with us today, vice president at Rock Solutions. Alvin, reports are interesting on what the DNC has cooking tomorrow. They're going to set up the war room. As always, they're going to be all over social media. There's a messaging strategy, we're told. They've even booked an airplane. You saw this, Anne-Marie. Politico reports the DNC will fly a plane around Milwaukee with a banner reading, GOP 2024, a race for the extreme MAGA base. I don't know how many people are going to be looking up, but will any of these work, or is the DNC throwing darts tomorrow?
I think they're throwing darts, and I think that that's okay, considering that the field is primed and ready, I think, to drum up with a lot of what the Democrats, I think, would like for them to talk about. So if it turns into respectability politics, you get into the back and forth of, what is woke and what is not woke, all of this foolishness. I think that will very much prove and set the field for the Democrats to do all of the outlandish tactics that you might think that they would, as far as flying planes overhead and things.
Well, criticism of the DNC has always been they have not been able to stay on message and hammer that message, especially the way you see Republicans really are able to grind a message home. Could this be the start of what they are trying, that more of a broader campaign, so that they paint anyone on that stage as closest to President Trump?
Well, that will be the beauty of the debate, I believe. There are so many people, if you read any of the kind of pre-debate commentary, that are primed to talk about exactly the things that will allow the Democrats to, for once, perhaps stay on message and stay on track. However, I think where the issues might arise is if you do get any of those individuals on the stage tomorrow, they kind of chart their own path, separate from the topics that are, falling from, pretty much any prep book that you might read, then I think then the Democrats might have to reshuffle the deck a bit.
Hey, Maura, Donald Trump has made it pretty clear that he's not going to take part in any of the debates this primary cycle, never mind tomorrow night. If he sets that precedent, should Joe Biden refuse to debate him in the general election?
He certainly would be within his rights to do so and would make Trump look pretty foolish. I don't think it's good for the American people, but I'm also hoping that Donald Trump is not the Republican candidate. I think the best case scenario for Democrats obviously is that outcome, as national polls have shown that Trump cannot win in a national election and against Joe Biden, and that will hurt our down ticket ballots across the country. So that's a real concern. I think the best case scenario for tomorrow night for Democrats is that Trump once again sucks out all the oxygen in the room, and they can continue to hit that, because it is going to continue to be a problem for Republicans with Trump if he is our nominee.
Yeah.
Maura Gillespie, founder of Bluestack Strategies, and Alvin Jordan, vice president at Rock Solutions. Thank you both for joining us. Check out the Washington